What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex, and you're watching a Ragin Ronin review. I got a review for you. I checked out Raging Fire. This is the latest film starring Donnie Yen. He also serves as a producer and action director on this film. It also stars Nicholas Jie, and it's directed by the late and great director Benny Chan. He also directed Gen X Cops, Gen Y Cops, New Police Story, and Who Am I, which the last two starred Jackie Chan. New Police Story and Gen X Cops also starred Nicholas Jie, and he also worked with Donnie Yen in two TV shows. One of them is Fist of Fury and also The Kung Fu Master. So he's worked with both of these actors before, and it's so great to see them reunited. And unfortunately, this was his last film. He passed away to cancer, but he went on to direct what could potentially be one of the greatest action films in Hong Kong cinema. I checked it out. I freaking loved it. And I want to go back to watch it again. Okay, so let's talk about this film. What is so great about it? I'll tell you that this is a non-stop action ride. And going back in time, back to 2005, when Donnie Yen and director Wilson Yip worked together on SPL, that raised the bar, or set a new bar for the Hong Kong action cinema, or Hong Kong film industry rather, because the Hong Kong film industry was on a really downward slope. There wasn't a lot of good movies coming out. There's a lot of garbage films, and then they came out with SPL, and then that just changed everything. And from that moment on, Donnie Yen was just on fire, making amazing films. And now we have this film, Raging Fire, and it totally, I'm going to go ahead and say it, and it has raised a new bar. It has set a new bar for modern Hong Kong action films. It is up there because not only is it action-packed, but the action is just so exciting. It's intense and it's hard-hitting. It's just raw, intense violence in many forms. We got car chases, really crazy and wild gun battles, and then of course some crazy kung fu action. Now, this is an action movie. I'll start off by saying that this is an action movie. It's not a full-on martial arts film. This is an action movie, and the antagonist and the protagonist happen to be very skilled at martial arts, which is normal actually in a lot of Hong Kong movies. They're not like Hollywood films where they actually take some time to explain why they're good at martial arts, like, okay, this is a trained assassin, or he's actually studying kung fu, or like, you know, he owns an MMA. They don't explain any of that, and they don't need to. Okay, they spend no time with that, and I love that because even though this movie is 2 hours and 6 minutes, it is completely flowing at a really brisk pace. This is a fast-paced movie. There's a lot of action, and it just moves from point A to point B to point C. It just moves along so quickly, and there's never a dull moment. They establish what the objective is, and then they just go right into it. And another thing that I really like about it is the action direction is just ridiculously, like, it's fantastic. There are some really great fights in this movie. There are some intense action sequences. Like chase sequences rather. The gun battles are on another level. It reminds me of Heat. I think it really pays homage to Heat. When they're doing there's a heist sequence in it, and then they're just doing a full-on firefight on the streets of Hong Kong. And as for the martial arts action, like I said before, it is hard-hitting. Like, we've seen great hard-hitting action from Donnie Yen when he fought Colin Chow in Flashpoint. We saw him fight Sammo Hung and Wu Jing in SPL, and a lot of other really great martial arts actors in other films. But this fight with Nicholas Jie is just on another... Like, it's so creative, it's so innovative. The weapons fighting, and it actually kind of pays homage to the alley knife fight in SPL. It really pays homage to that because he pulls out a baton as well. But like now we have an antagonist like Nicholas Jie, and he is just completely ruthless. Like, he's a really cruel, cold-blooded killer. And which brings me to talking about the characters and the performances. Nicholas Jie owns this role. He freaking owns this role, and he's just so good as this cold-blooded cop killer who was actually also a former cop. Like, they used to work together, and so that actually brings about a really great performance and chemistry between Donnie Yen and Nicholas Jeff's character, because they have a relationship. It's not just good guy versus bad guy. There's something bigger than that, and that is like they used to work together. They actually have some history. So, but Donnie Yen's character Bong, he's so determined to take the bad guys down because this guy's a cop killer. All right, so and what I also like about this is Donnie Yen's performance. I mean, Nicholas Jay is just awesome. In fact, he steals the show in every scene that he's in. But I think that Donnie Yen's performance is also still right up there, because he typically plays a hot-headed cop. He's famous for playing a hot-headed cop in a lot of the cop movies that he's in. But in this one, he's a bit more calm, and he's serious when, like, he's no nonsense when he needs to be. You know what I mean? Like, once it comes down to the action, like, he's right in there 110%, 150%. Like, he's just right in there. Not that he hasn't been before, but you see two different characters. You see a very calm, collected character in the drama scenes, and he puts all the responsibility on himself. But then there's also the really, really combative, take down these bad guys type of character, and he's just so good at playing that character. This film, also another thing about this film, it has, like, there's homage to Heat, there's an homage to SPO, there's even homage to New Police Story, the Jackie Chan film that Benny Chan directed. So it's cool that, like, it does have some familiar story tropes, and I actually don't mind that at all. It actually works for the story, and I feel like it doesn't hinder the story at all. In fact, it just flows by so well, and I think it doesn't need to be groundbreaking. Essentially, the story and the characters are just done differently in a way compared to other films, that it just needs to propel the story forward so that we can get get moving on to the next big action sequence. And it's not just action for the sake of action. These are all these scenes, these action sequence, and the ferocity of this action is really just an extension of the characters. So that's done really well, really well. What else can I say? Okay, this film isn't totally perfect. Okay, it's got like a particular glaring plot hole, and it kind of makes you need to really focus on the story. Okay, like sometimes you wonder, like, wait a minute, who is this guy and how is this guy involved? And then you really have to focus in some scenes. Okay, and then there's this plot hole that I had an issue with, which is not really a big deal because it made it work. But it's a little bit too convenient for me. And there's somewhere in the middle of the movie, it has to do with a cellular phone. Okay, I won't go into full details, but it's about a cellular phone in the middle of the movie, and I just felt that, okay, that's a little bit too convenient, but it worked. And in the end of it all, once they introduced that sequence that followed, I didn't really have a problem with that. But I was a bit lost at that moment when that started happening. All right, so it's not perfect, but a lot of great things in this movie make up for it. Make no mistake about it, this is one of the greatest Hong Kong action films in recent years, and it is one of the best Hong Kong action films, like, to date, like, ever in history. Okay, I know that's a really tall, like, that's a really top praise. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say, like, really high praise. But I really mean it because there are a lot of great movies out there, but if there's like 100, like, or rather, let's just say 50 great Hong Kong action films, this one's definitely in there. And there are a lot of really great Hong Kong action films. Okay, a lot of really great ones. This one's definitely in top 20. All right, it's got to be. I've seen a lot of films, but this one's got to be up there. It just felt nostalgic in a way that it brought me back to the 90s and how awesome these Hong Kong action films used to be. And this film is kind of like a revival of that era, right? And it does its job so well. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It's I was teetering between this film and Suicide Squad as to which is my best film that I've seen this year, and I might have to say this film. I like this film. I think I like it more than Suicide Squad. I mean, Suicide Squad is amazing, no doubt, but this film is just like, it's just raw action. It's just freaking raw, brutal action, and it's so entertaining. Anyways, my name's Alex. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Do go check out this movie, okay? I mean, if it's available in your city. I'll see you next time. Peace.